Yes, give me a moment.
Perfect. While you're getting those pulled up, it looks like Giga accidentally got a bit of a head start anticipating the countdown timer, but it's all right. Everybody else is off, though. Ooh, Fade in first shop. Interesting.
So for the seasoning for this race, it's a Pando. So there's some items are locked behind certain chests, like in the original Final Fantasy. Why can I not find everything? There we go. So in the original Final Fantasy, there's the ribbon, the Masamune, the Excalibur, the Power Rod, and the Power Gauntlets. All are only found in Final Fantasy Mythic Quest. So those items be the Giant Tree second floor door chest, Pursuer's Tower 7th floor and Pursuer's chest, Mount Gale Darnahan chest, Volcano Medusa chest, and Pursuer Fish floor Descent Bomb Wall center box.
That's right. And for the Plando on the Mystic Quest side of the house, all of these items will be locked behind the FFR seed. So Flare, Exit, Gaia's Armor, Age of Shield, and Cupid Locket are all in FFR. Flare is in the Sea Shrine. Exit is in Corneria Castle. Gaia's Armor is in Marsh Cave at the bottom. Age of Shield is in Lefine. And Cupid Locket is in Castle of Ordeal's top floor. So these runners know that these are going to be in those specific locations. Everything else is a kind of a gamble, though. And it looks like we've already got Rod for both of our FFR runners. Really lucky getting that out of the Kaylee House box. So we still have Brown Box Shuffle turned on from the Mystic Quest seed. Everything else is pretty random, though. Partner Shuffle is turned on, so their locations are going to be random. Looks like Tristram rolled into his vanilla location, but everybody else could be in different spots. So, for instance, Phoebe could be hanging out at Ruben's house while Kaylee's hanging out in Libra Temple. That is what it means to have partner locations shuffled. And with an axe start, Forest is a pretty good spot to start in. We have not turned on Overworld Shuffle. So vanilla locations, no bombs, though, means that Bone Dungeon is going to be faded until those are found. I'm waiting to see if anybody does an AP hint for bombs, or if they're just going to wait till Bahamut's lair has been checked, because this is a huge spot for AP items to be located in.
Alright, on the Final Fantasy side, it looks like we got the Rubicon behind Bahamut and a bunch of gold.
Looks like we also got Giant's Axe 2. So some goodies for our runners, but nothing else in terms of opening the world. Just some raw damage. For the Eagle-Eyed on the Mystic Quest side of the house, you might also notice that Tristram is level 8 right now. The leveling for the seed for partners is Ben's level +5. So whatever level our runners are, take that, add 5 to it, and that's going to be our partners level for the entire run. And yes, they do level up simultaneously. So if Ben gains a level, the partners instantly gain that level.
Okay, so it looks like the Final Fantasy runners start with the Rod relatively early in the game. And of the classes that you can pick, they will walk out of having a black belt. But they can pick one up, I believe, in the end. If they decide to do so.
Gotcha. Meanwhile, on Giga Otomi's and Sonny Wrath's side, it looks like Sonny found Giga's sand coin in Matoya's cave, and Giga found his Dragon Claw in the entrance to Bone Dungeon. So that is world progression. Meanwhile, Flip Heel and Ike here getting their checks pretty efficiently. Flip Heel has both the same.
see what's on the top of the cave here. You got a monster in the box. I just want the ooze and Artrid. It's not the C4 pain or anything. C-tile pain, sorry.
Meanwhile, Giga making that check in the top of Doom Castle Sandfloor. It is a sword, specifically the Knight Sword. So now Ice Pyramid is on the table for our runners. Let's see who's in Libra Temple. Is this even shuffled? I'm kidding. It looks like Phoebe is in Libra Temple. So immediately making that swap out, getting rid of Tristram. And it looks like our runners need to get Phoebe up to level 19 for her to gain access to white. So with Ben's level +5, leveling is key to getting those spells enabled.
And it looks like IQ is now heading towards... I can remember the name of the cave all of a sudden.
March Cave?
March Cave, thank you. I want to call it everything else like Mythical Cave and everything. I know it's not Mythical Cave. March Cave, yes. So, Sonny Waff just checked the top part of March Cave, came out and saved, and probably head back in. And go ahead,
Meanwhile, Flipheel made a really good recovery, being able to get that Knight Sword from that box. He overshot the box a little bit, but with a little bit of claw spam and some jumping, was able to get that item from the box. A little tricky bit of a recovery, but better than walking all the way back around, for sure. Ooh, and Giga getting locked in a battlefield without a save. He's lost all that progress he had made earlier, but now has the benefit of hindsight. So not only will he have to take a second to catch up with AP, he'll have to redo all his checks again. Thankfully, already knowing what's good, what isn't. So it looks like he's fading Tristram's check, coming back over to this battleground, getting that shard. Our runners will need to get 24 shards on the Mystic Quest side of the house to reassemble the Sky Coin for part of their go mode. With Doom Castle shortcut turned on, that is basically their entire go mode, aside from leveling up and getting the items they want to take on Dark King.
Yeah, it looks
Meanwhile,
like the top... Sorry.
Go ahead.
It looks like the top up on March Cave had the Jumbo Bombs, which gives them access to all Bone Dungeon. They want to do that.
Exactly, and the bomb access is actually huge for Flipeel and Ikea here, basically granting Flipeel access to almost every check in the game aside from anything needing mega grenades. So basically having a full exploration kit here is going to be huge. Looks like Giga also got their jumbo bombs delivered courtesy of Sony. Still looking a little sparse on the FF side of the house, though. Only a rod found from the key item pool. Hopefully, as we get through these areas, now that they've been made available, both of our runners will be able to go through and make all those checks. Looks like Giga forgot to pick up their sand coin. So making a quick backtrack here to run and grab that. And Phoebe's handing out gold, it looks like. Meanwhile, Ike here sending Flipeel over some wake water. That is going to help them immediately thaw out this Aquarius section and open up another spot on the map. As Giga plays a bit of catch up here. Still in the running, though, in terms of checks. So anything can happen here. This is not a solo race. This is a team effort. So things look a little funky now, but it can all depend on the routing and how things go, especially if Flipeel manages to get locked behind a nasty encounter like Giga did here.
Alright. Sorry. My screen, it got a bit too small to see everything clearly. But it looks like the Final Fantasy Wonders are going through March Cave still. They pick up a few good items. They found a root. and I believe they found a defense gauntlet, so they can use that in battles and equip it.
Yeah, meanwhile, Flipio looks like to have found their own Excalibur, using that upgrade immediately, and making good use of that speed bonus you get from the Knight Sword and the Excalibur to get a bit of an edge when it comes to turn order. There's the elixir. So now all we need is the tree weather, and Kaylee checks can be made on Flipheel's side of things. Meanwhile, Giga going to go fight Mr. Krabs, hopefully having a bit of better luck here. Although I don't think that Sonny has found him the Giant's Axe, so we'll not be able to take full advantage of that weakness, get out that extra damage. And it looks like Giga's actually farming here for XP. Go ahead, X10.
Well, we have a moment. What items are locked in the Final Fantasy from the Plando that are in Mythic Quest originally?
Let me go ahead and pull up the Final Fantasy side of things. I only had the Mystic Quest side pulled up. Sorry about that.
Well, it would be in the Mystic Quest notes, I believe. Because I knew what my items are in your game. I know items I have in my game that belong to you.
So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like they planned out anything from the other games for Mystic Quest. So the only thing in planned for Mystic Quest is Flare, Exit, Gaia's Armor, Aegis, Cupid. That's all over in FF. Everything else is on the table. So it is complete random chaos from this side of the house. Speaking of random chaos, you might notice that our runners are hitting a bit of a bump here when it comes to some of these encounters in Mystic Quest. That's because the enemy shuffle has been turned on. Thankfully, it's set to safe, but even with safe settings, some of these attack patterns can be rather nasty.
Sometimes it's not safe.
Safe is not always safe, chat. And Flipheel's slicing and dicing up that squidite and gets a fragment for his reward. Not the end of the world. Mini boss checks can often be faded by runners, but typically if that happens, it usually means that you faded something good. So it's a bit of a gamble not making those checks when you can. Since those can be kind of rough encounters, you want to make sure that you're pretty well equipped before going into them. Thankfully, Flipheel having access to Excalibur makes that fight pretty easy. Meanwhile, it looks like Giga's just behind Flipheel, going to be also going to Squidite. We'll see if he fades the check or just goes in and checks the chests.
Right now on the Final Fantasy side, it's just stopping and exploring areas. Nothing really too much to really give. Like, they fought the pirates, I give them a sword.
Yeah, have not seen any hints used on either side of the house. The way hints work, chat, is basically after making X number of checks. So I believe it's about 10 checks and getting AP items for the other side of the house. You'll be granted 1 point per check that you find or AP item that you find. After your cumulative of 10, you can do a command in your archipelago window with !hint and hint for a specific item. And then from there, you can see where it is either in your game or in your partner's game. Looks like Sonny is farming Peninsula of Power, potentially BK'd behind something in Giga's game, waiting to see if there is a hint check made for that or if they're just patiently waiting.
Well, actually, it makes sense that they are locked because they haven't seen anything about the canal or anything. So they explore all the areas.
Yeah, right now, FFR only has access to the loot and the rod. I don't know if Sonny checked Bahamut's cave yet, though. Still not seeing the river coin over on Giga's tracker. So if that's the case, Giga could be missing access to somewhere BKing Sonny.
Yeah, I know they did on the IQ side. I didn't see Sunny Web head behind Bahamut. Maybe they forgot that the islands are unlocked.
Potentially. Meanwhile, Flipheel finding a Vorpal Blade for Ike here. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and do a full dive of Ice Pyramid. Not necessarily needed with these settings, but Ice Pyramid is rather dense. So it is a very good check location with a large number of chests for both players here. So not a bad play at all. Ooh, some frost strikes at this chest here for Ike here. And just blowing them away. And a pack of bombs is all that is rewarded for their efforts. Meanwhile, Giga's struggling with the paralysis status. That's the second time I've seen him take pretty decent damage from an enemy with the paralysis attack. I would think that given the bad luck here, Giga might make an AP check for either the Venus shield or just hold out until Sonny can get to the Aegis shield in Lefine. Is Lefine a person or a location? X10, I can't remember.
I believe that is a person. I think that's the guy behind the golem that you gave the ruby
Gotcha.
to. I just never knew his name.
Titan?
No, I knew the golem, but I mean the guy behind.
Ah.
Was it Lefin, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right. Oh!
Slab check. Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, chat. I like I've said before, I'm a Mystic Quest player, and I'm only vaguely familiar with FFR.
To be honest,
so thankfully,
so am I.
But we'll do our best to commentate as we go here. Looks like the Thunder Rock has been found for Flip Heel, and the tail has been found for Ike here. So party power up is available. We'll have to see. I have not checked the settings. X10, can you check and see if Bahamut is open and available at any time, or if he's locked behind a check here in these settings?
I see.
While you're checking that, looks like Sonny's still farming Peninsula Power, wondering if they believe they're locked behind something or BK'd, or if this is just a strategic move to make sure that they're strong enough to make any checks that they're planning on making here. Captain's Cap in Ice Pyramid and missed that check earlier. Flip Heel more than likely picked that up, but unfortunately Captain's Cap is not needed for these seed settings since Doom Castle shortcuts turned on, so unfortunately that's basically a dud. Giga finding Sonny's key though, and it looks like Sonny may have just been grinding for XP, as they have left the Peninsula Power, gone to an inn, rested up, and are now taking off for their next check location.
I gotta say, the original Final Fantasy Randomizer has so many options that I can't find the answer.
It is indeed an older randomizer, although old is a relative term. Mystic Quest is about 1.5 years old now. I don't remember how old FFR is, but I definitely know it's an older randomizer than MQ. So a bit more options on that storefront.
I imagine it's vanilla Bahamut. They're not seeing anything special. And I tried doing a Google search for Bahamut.
Gotcha. So basically,
I searched the page.
Gotcha. So tail is basically our only inhibitor here. Ike, you're probably looking at routing that upgrade later on Meanwhile, Gaia armor has been found by Ike here and sent over to Flipheel. That will give Flipeel immunity. Also, it looks like it was found for Giga. So both MQ runners now have access to Gaia armor, giving them immunity to sleep and also giving them resistance to wind, water, and by the way of coding, lightning element attacks. So it is a huge upgrade for our runners defensively, not giving them all the status immunities that they would necessarily want. Paralysis and confusion are definitely the top two status ailments to look out for. They are the most detrimental in my opinion, but sleep can just be annoying, so it's nice to be able to rule that out. Looking a little bare for checks on Ice Pyramid floor 4. But we have found the Venus Shield, so that will be a nice upgrade until the Aegis Shield is found later. That will give our runners on Mystic Quest immunity from the paralysis status. Truly nasty status. It can go on for what feels like forever, and it's like a 50-50 on whether or not you break out of it or not. So getting immunity from that is huge. Getting an update from chat here. Yeah, FFR is roughly about 5 or 6 years old, so about 4 or 5 years old, about 4 years older than MQR. So a little more rich in terms of features and settings and options available. That being said, I still personally love the Mystic Quest randomizer, and it's great to be part of something that's growing what feels like every day. I turn around, I leave, I look back, and then all of a sudden there's like 6 more options available. So looks like the herbs were found by Flipeel, sent over to Ike here. So herbs were behind Ice Pyramid, opening up more checks. I don't imagine Giga's too far behind Flipeel. For those who might have missed it earlier, Giga accidentally jumped into a battleground without saving earlier and basically got into a no-win encounter. So they had, instead of having to fight their way out of it, they said, you know, we'll just reset the console and hopefully make up some time as opposed to getting stuck here, which could probably be a better play in the long run.
So B1 of the Ice Pyramid didn't have anything of interest, which is gold, heal, and I believe it was a house for the Final Fantasy runner. So Flip gave Ike here those items. Right now we have Sunny Wrath and Dwarf's Tavern. And they found... Oh, they hinted for their canoe, which is at the Elf Castle 32.
Gotcha. So, and it looks like Sonny found mega grenades for Giga. So Giga is basically fully powered up. They have everything they need weapon-wise. The axe upgrades are basically just kind of like a little cherry on top. Basic axe is all you need for completion, though. It looks like Flipeel is fading Ice Golem as well. It looks like there was just a brown box hidden behind the big behemoth, so he decided to dip, get a large amount of cash from what I could see for Ike here, and is now making their way out of the Ice Pyramid.
Oh, I do want to call out, they found a floater in the dwarf cave.
Ooh, very nice. So floater is now available for Ike here. That opens up a lot more checks, if I'm remembering correctly here.
It opens up basically everything besides what? My head is not working at the moment. Besides where Bahama is. What was that place called? We need the cube. And
Mirage Tower.
Yeah, Mirage Tower and the final dungeon. They have access to everything else though. Oh, and Sea Swine, they need the yeah, so they can get into Sea Swine or Mirage Tower.
Gotcha.
Or where Chaos is.
Gotcha. Meanwhile, it looks like Flipeel is going to go ahead and make him some crab legs real quick, opting for the 2-pillar strats. A bit of a spot of contention for a lot of the runners in Mystic Quest Rando, whether or not you do the 3-pillar or the 2-pillar strats here with the enemy positions randomized. And Looks like Flip Heel may have forgotten some of the Mr. Crab weaknesses here. Mr. Crab's being weak to Axe element. Yes, Axe is an element. Check the book, it's there. But you know, giant falling rocks from space also do a ton of damage. So not necessarily missing out here, opting for Meteor, and down goes Mr. Krabs, leaving behind a fragment available for our runners. Now that wall behind Mr. Krabs is explodable, so they could have blown up that wall. Looks like they might have forgotten there, instead taking the option to walk out. Still not that long though, very small area, Falls Basin. So not losing a ton of time there. Meanwhile, looks like Sonny's finally gotten to Bahamut's cave and is now getting that river coin for Giga. And hopefully a check was not burned. I did not see one. Also looks like Sonny has routed in the tail upgrade for his party, so kind of killing two birds with one stone here, not needing to make a return trip like Ike here will have to do if he decides to upgrade his party. Giga opting to take on the big Iceman. Not having fire available might make this take a little longer. He is resistant to Meteor, but Meteor still does Meteor damage even if it's cut in half, so this should not be a terribly long fight unless something happens. Opting to just go ahead and fade the fight though. Probably a wise decision, especially if there's a brown box behind the big Iceman. So, not a huge loss. Looks like he saved. Yep, brown box. We're getting out of here.
Oh wow, there was nothing to 4-4.
Getting Sonny some money though. Not anything for our Mystic Quest runners, but plenty of goodies for our FFR runners. Meanwhile, Flip Heel making their way through Fireberg. Let's see if there's anything worth it in the shop. This is a 500 GP check, very pricey. It's a heal potion. No, get out, abort. It's a trap. It's a scam. Don't fall for it. It's a garbage check. Ruben is at home, so I might have fibbed about. Yeah, it might have fibbed about the partner locations being shuffled. I thought I saw those turned on in the settings, but doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, Ike here finding Flip Heel. The heal book and a sky fragment. So a lot of goodies being sent over to Mystic Quest, not a ton being sent over to FFR. Flip Heel's going to go ahead and knock out his shopping though, get those seeds. They're now basically set for the rest of the run. Yeah, chat, a finely aged heal potion, quote unquote, with a nice vintage, totally not a scam. And it looks like Flip Heel is going to go ahead and take out some trees, get some levels here, and also just kind of beef up before. Looks like they might be looking to take on Jin with Ruben.
Ike went for his upgrade for his class for all his fighters.
Yep, so both of our FFR runners now have their beefed up parties. They have been upgraded, and I believe that the tail applies to any partners picked up later as well. Meanwhile, Giga frying some calamari over there at this battleground above Libra Temple. Couldn't see if that was an item check or not, but regardless, XP is going to be very important to routing this seed for our Mystic Quest runners. Again, chat, if you missed it, the Mystic Quest partners are at Ben's level +5. So they aren't going to be the stat sticks that most people are accustomed to. You're going to have to build them up alongside Ben to really get the benefits out of them. Phoebe needs to be at level, I believe, 21-ish. To gain access to the white spell. 19 or 21, I can't remember which one I said earlier.
I think you said 19.
Yep, so 2 more levels, Phoebe gets access to white, and then things kind of coast out. But again, they're also beholden to the charge limits of those levels. So Phoebe's only going to have about 4 charges of white when she first gets it. She's not going to be the powerhouse with 10 charges that everybody's used to. So a little bit more strategy is going to be involved with your partner management in this seed for both of our Mystic Quest runners.
Now, I have to say, I feel bad for IQ at the moment. He's so desperate. He has the Vorpal sword to come to his warrior fighter.
Yeah, hurting a little bit in terms of items and equipment for our FF runners, but not for cash. Both of our Mystic Quest runners have been sending over plenty of cash care packages to their FF partners, and they have been using that very wisely, dumping that money into checks available to them. Meanwhile, it looks like Flip Hill is diving mines, so we are going to see a Jin fight with Ruben. Thankfully, Ruben is pretty beefy. Even with the Excalibur, Ruben beats out Ben in terms of raw strength and damage. That's just the way he's built. He's built diff, chat. It's just how he is. Unfortunately, being built different, it doesn't mean he's built better. He has no resistances besides fire, so any status ailments will put our boy down real quick, fast, and in a hurry.
No, I have to ask a question about Ruben. Is his accuracy worse than everyone else? Or is it just my luck?
I think it's because the flail is coded as an axe. I don't know the exact workings of axe accuracy. I just know that as a player, it seems lower than all the other melee weapons. So you work off native axe accuracy for your coding. You're going to tend to miss more often than not. But when you hit, you connect. And it is a beefy connection.
Alright, so it's not just me.
Yeah, now if it is placebo, it's placebo observed by the entire community at this point. Nasty beam attack coming out of Jin. Looks like he rolled vanilla moveset, and while that might sound nice, Jin's moveset is not nice. It's not very pleasant to deal with, especially B. But down goes the evil genie. It looks like we'll be able to free Aaron and get Ruben's check knocked out at the same time.
As I saw the Cure Spell and Fire being sent up from IQ to Flip Hill.
Here being very nice for Mystic Quest runners, being the only option they have to multi-heal the party. Life, while being the best curative spell, is only single target. No exit yet. Remember, chat, it is part of the plan, though, that exit is behind FFR. So to get access to exit, our FFR runners will need to check the Treasury Major and Corneria Castle. But finding that sooner rather than later will be a huge speed boost for both of our Mystic Quest runners. Meanwhile, Ike here warping around. I forget the name of this location, but I recognize the pattern here. Not worrying about encounters, though. Yep. In ordeals, I believe. Yep. Top of castle ordeals, or third floor, is going to be the Cupid Locket, if I'm reading this correctly. So a very good check for his partner here. Arkir is making Cupid Locket grants our Mystic Quest runners immunity from blind and confusion. And while blind might not be a problem because explosives always hit, and so does magic, confusion is deadly. So getting that sooner rather than later is going to be awesome for our Mystic Quest runners. Doesn't look like it was Cupid Locket, though. It was Aegis Shield. Still a very good check. Petrification is basically tantamount to a KO. Getting immunity from petrification attacks is huge for Mystic Quest runners. So Aegis Shield and Cupid Locket being two very good pieces of equipment to grab.
Yeah, especially we don't know which character they're going to be bringing to the Dark King fight in Mystic Quest.
Oh, no, I misread. That was Ikir's Aegis Shield. Still a very good item from what I remember. But it looks like Flare Seal was at the top of ordeals. So now Flip Heel has firepower, quite literally. Flare is the strongest attack in Mystic Quest, while also being Flame Element. And it looks like the crown was hidden in the mine. The only downside to Flare being Flame Element here is that any enemies resistant to fire attacks will only take half damage. So White is kind of known as the true powerhouse spell of the game since it's non-elemental. But in terms of raw damage, Flare has everything beat. And now also saving Aaron.
He had the slab, which we can get transcribed in Final Fantasy for a no check.
Makes sense. Aaron's dressed up like an archaeologist, so to have an ancient slab, just, you know, that fits. That totally planned out, calculated. Flipio moving on to Volcano, a very good check for chest density and ease of positioning. While it's not super dense in terms of the amount of chests, the speed of which you can acquire or check those chests is very fast. Literally like 4 chests here on the first floor alone. You don't have to walk very far. 4, very easy to peek as well. So just taking a glance over, if you're only looking for red chests, very easy to do here in Volcano. The only downside of Volcano is floors 2 and 3 require the mask to see enemies, but really nowhere near as bad as Ice Pyramid. Meanwhile, Ikea stopping into town here. Looks like they were planning on doing some shopping and then decided to bail. Don't know what happened with that one.
And it looks like Sunny Left is going to the bottom of Mars. And if I remember correctly, IQ did check the box chest and there was nothing of interest.
Yep, I think Ikea remembered that they had access to the left end, so immediately beelined it over to get Flip Heel their Cupid Locket. Now, Flip Heel's basically geared up. The only thing they're missing at this point is the Apollo or Moon Helmet and the Aegis Shield to get their full status immunities and resistances. Moon Helmet and Apollo Helmet will give our Mystic Quest runners fire resistance, and while that doesn't sound like it's too huge, Dark King has access to Mega Flare, which will literally one-shot our characters unless we have fire resistance, or darn near close enough to it at the levels they'll be running into Dark King.
I'm saying the rate we're going, they'll be like level 18 by the time they hit Dark King.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of our Mystic Quest runners didn't farm up to level 20 just for safety. And it looks like Aegis Shield was found by Sony. Aegis Shield buried in the Marsh Cave. So I think the only planned-out item we have left to check at this point is Exit Book. And if my math is adding up here, it looks like Exit Book landed in the bottom of, or B2 of Sea Shrine. So our FF runners will need access to a Sea Shrine to get the best spell in the game for our Mystic Quest partners here. Meanwhile, Flip Heel taking on Medusa, not fading Medusa this time. Historically, Flip Heel does not like fighting Medusa. It's not a great fight at any level, especially with access to petrification attacks. But with the raw firepower of Flare, we could just kind of skirt that weakness. Even if Ruben is a little bit on the lame side right now, not having access to white. Unfortunately, not able to skip straight to Baldusa here. This Medusa does look like she's rolled around the 125% HP threshold. For anyone curious, our bosses on Mystic Quest side of the house can roll between 100% and 125% of their stats available. There's Baldusa. X10, what's it looking like for the stat spread over on FF side of the house?
Give me a moment. Let's go for it again. It is sorry for the prolonged wait. Alright, for boss stats, they can go from 100 to 250% for the HP scaling.
Yeah, that's a bit wider of a margin for the FFR side of the house. Looks like Flip Heel stopped here to consult with Ike here. If you ever see any of our runners stop moving, they're more than likely checking previous checks, checking their inventory, or consulting with their partners on what their next move should probably be. Communication is key in these co-op races. Without it, our runners are basically running around blind. But proper coordination here, it can net you a victory. Giga also clearing out Medusa, not taking the chance of fading this check while he's here. Unfortunately, still not having access to exit, but gonna go ahead and beef up while they're here. This is a pretty good place to farm XP, and in terms of farming, Giga, instead of going shopping, is opting to do what we call seed duping. So what you saw right there was Giga entered a battle, put his partner on manual, and then went to use a seed, quote unquote. When it flipped over to select Ruben's actions, backed all the way out and ran from the fight. That stores a +1 of the seeds in the code, and when you run from the fight, basically, since it was never used, the game just says, okay, that +1 is now part of your inventory. I believe the way it maths out is you prime it and it stores a +1 in the code, and then when you quote unquote use an item, it subtracts 2 from the count available. Funky coding, if you ask me, if that's how that works, but that's just kind of my headcanon for how that glitch functions. It's the easiest way to explain it.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Waiting to see a shard count for both of our runners here. I think both of our Mystic Quest runners are pretty darn close to go mode in terms of shard count. Yeah, Flipheel's only missing 5 shards. Giga probably not too far behind, since Sonny and Ike here have been pretty close in their routing so far. There's a bit of a divergence here. I know I say that while Sonny's in Ice Cave and Ike here is in Volcano. But for the most part, they've been pretty neck and neck in terms of available checks. So this divergence here might be make or break for our runners. Ike here finding their cube, so if there's anything important hidden behind cube, that is a huge advantage for Ike here, while Sonny dives Ice Cavern. Just got informed by our tracking team, shout outs to our awesome trackers for the race tonight, that Giga only has 15 shards, so about a 4 shard detriment behind Flipheal. By no means a game ender, since the Giga and Flipheal are only separated by a level and I think a helmet at this point. In terms of checks though, basically they're right behind each other. Looks like Sonny is opting to farm I for some XP here. Meanwhile, Ike here making their way through Volcano, making those checks available. Giga would be ahead with Captain's Cap, except we have the Doom Castle shortcut turned on for Mystic Quest. So what that means is if you go to the base of Focus Tower, there is now a magical staircase that connects to the first floor of Doom Castle from the base of Focus Tower, basically making Thunder Rock and Captain's Cap no longer required. It also removes the requirement for Mega Grenades and Dragon Claws, since there's now a Skull Bridge on the far top right of Sand Floor, making it to where you can jump across to access the Sky Coin door basically immediately for our Mystic Quest runners. So the only thing with these settings that our Mystic Quest runners will need is the spells and power that they want and 24 Sky Shards. Now, if our runners did want to check Spencer's Cave the fast way, they can still turn in that Thunder Rock to auto and have that Rainbow Bridge built out and blow up the cave to free Max Ship. And if there was anything hidden on Max Ship, they don't even need the Captain's Cap for that. They just need the Thunder Rock. But those would be the only 2 things gating our Mystic Quest runners here. Triple Jin did manage to peek that while I was giving my explanation here. Venus Key found. So Spencer's Cave is on the table, as well as North Focus Tower. And let me check and see if NPCs are set to include or prioritize for these settings.
I think it'll be included at this point since we had a heal potion and one Fireberg.
Yeah, no, that's right. If there was a heal potion, they are set to include. So, little FYI for anyone familiar with Mystic Quest, while those Venus chests are indeed treasure chests, in terms of coding for the game, they are coded as NPCs. So if you set the randomizer to include NPCs as possible key item check locations, I hate to break it to you, chat, but those boxes are people that give you items based on holding a key according to the way the game's coded. So they might just have junk for you, unfortunately. but it's always worth checking, especially if you can get there quickly. And if both of our runners clear Lava Dome here, it is a very, very short walk from Lava Dome over to North Focus Tower, making that check a possibility for both of our runners since they have explosives to blow open that door. Meanwhile, Sonny, going for some shopping, saw they picked up Brack over there. And it looks like they got access to the bell at some point. Still not having Cube, but we saw from Ikir's side that Cube is here in Volcano, so should have Cube very shortly. I'll be interested to see if they fade after getting Cube or if they go the full dive to make all their item checks. Meanwhile, Giga making use of this expanded spellbook. If your eyes are not deceiving you, chat, Ruben is using Blizzard. The expanded spellbook adds spells to our partners' arsenals that make sense for them to have. So Ruben, in all honesty, should probably have had access to Blizzard like Phoebe had access to Fire in the vanilla game. So with spellbooks extended, we've given him that power. Building Snowman, not exactly very strong, but in the region there are some enemies that are weak to water attacks, so it does get some niche use here and there. The only partner who I think got the best deal out of everybody is Tristan gets access to Exit and Flare, which are two very, very, very powerful spells, a little better than the quote-unquote treasure hunter deserves, but we had to make him useful somehow, right?
Hey, Tristan is always more useful than Ruben going against Dark King, in my opinion.
I will disagree strongly, but that's only because Ruben has access to white and Tristan has shurikens, not making that a fair comparison, in my opinion. The best use for Tristan, in my opinion, is using him as a meat shield, because while he is not very powerful, he is very fast at 90 speed.
Oh, and against Dullahan.
True, but that's because Dullahan is susceptible to paralysis, as we found out from one of our tournaments 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I experienced the pain.
Yep. So it looks like our runners are going to be going up to Wyvern. I'll be interested to see if they save scum the fight. Unfortunately, chat, if you're familiar with Wyvern, there is a box hidden behind the big dual-headed Hydra. Dual-headed Hydra. There is a box behind them. And unfortunately, you cannot peek this chest from any position. You have to jump up on the platform. But if you save right beforehand, you can reset just like Flipheel did and instead dodge the fight. I'll be interested to see if Giga takes out Hydra purely for the option of opening up that connection between Aquaria and Fireberg. Looks like he is also prepping a save. Going into the fight, though, Meteor is going to make short work of this Hydra. We'll see if it does goes the different distance. Now, if Hydra rolls bad attack patterns, this might be a fade.
That's all I got to say is ow.
I wonder if Hydra rolled Wyvern attack pattern. Which, if that's the case, I would fade that fight at those levels with those partner setups. So, Giga taking a little longer to make the same decision that Flipheel decided to make, but honestly, probably the best decision given how that fight was going. Still no access to Exit, so Giga double checking their armor, confirming that in fact they do not have the moon or the Apollo helmet. No fire resistance available for his character, so deciding to move on. Both of our Mystic Quest runners missing access to Windia region. I have not seen a crest or sun coin, but I think Flipheel just remembered that they haven't checked Bone Dungeon. Hopefully Giga makes the same connection here soon. Both of our runners had to fade Bone Dungeon early for not having explosives, and one of the follies of us Mystic Quest runners is we often forget that Bone Dungeon exists after checking it the first time. After we leave Foresta, Foresta just stops existing. It's not a place anymore unless we find a Kaylee check. So hopefully Giga also makes the connection here. Bone Dungeon is actually a very good check location in terms of check density. Good chest locations, very easy enemies to take out. All in all, good peekability. It just makes for a good, quick, dense check. There's life gifted from Ike here over to Flip Heel. And I don't... It looks like Sawney and Ike here basically have flip-flopped here. So Sawney is wrapping up Volcano while it looks like Ike here, if I'm seeing this correctly from the background, is either in... Yeah, it looks like they are in Ice Cavern. So our FFR runners are neck and neck. Two very skilled runners here. Checking the seed box on Flip Heel's side. Not seeds, it's an AP item. Looks like it was the chimes. And Giga did, in fact, put 2 and 2 together and decided to check Bone Dungeon since everything else was off the table. Very good showing from both of our Mystic Quest runners as well. Like I said, some newer runners tend to forget that Bone Dungeon exists after leaving it the first time, but not these guys tonight. And Flip Heel showing the power of heal at higher levels, instantly killing undead. The way that cure damage works in Mystic Quest is to instantly KO an undead monster, you need to be higher level than it. Unfortunately, enemy levels are not displayed. However, we do there are resources to know just how high level enemies are programmed to be. So for instance, to instantly life kill Rex's refight, Skullerus Rex instead of Flamerus Rex, you need to be at least level 34 or higher. And there is our Sun Coin hidden behind Rex. I imagine Giga's also going to take the same life kill strat here, in which case we'll be hot on the heels of Flip Heel. No pun intended.
I do want to call out, they also got the Apollon right before they got the Sun Coin.
Very good. So yeah, not only will our runners have fire resistance, they'll also have access to that new area. Giga opting to just blow away Rex a little bit slower, but I mean, he's got the damage to just get it done. And unfortunately, still no exit book for both of our runners. And we know because of Plando that exit is in Sea Shrine. Unfortunately, FF runners do not have access to Sea Shrine quite yet. So I might have missed it. Chat, keep me honest here. I have not seen a hint for the item that will get you access to Sea Shrine. And at this point, I don't know if that will necessarily be required. What is go mode for FFR X?
You need the filter. You need the root. I believe you need the chime. And the swords.
Gotcha. So with chimes found now, at this point, the only thing that our runners really need on the FFR side of the house is shards from the items I'm looking at here. So exit just might not be in the cards for our runners here tonight and having to make all these checks on foot. Meanwhile, Flip Heel gonna go ahead and build a Rainbow Road, play a little bit of Mario Kart here, and go up to Spencer's Cave. More than likely gonna blow it up since we have Mega Grenades available, freeing Max Ship. I'll be interested to see if Max Ship is checked at all, but again, no crests available so far. I haven't seen any in Flip Heel deciding not to buy that shard since he already has more than he needs for go mode here. So at this point, probably going to do a little bit more shopping for equipment and then going to go ahead and run to Dark King, or at least that's what I would do at this point, since go mode is available for Flip Heel. May opt to level up Phoebe a little bit more, but that can also be done at Dune Castle. So let me check our seed settings really quick. Let me see if release is turned on, because if release is turned on, our Mystic Quest runners could literally sprint to the end of the game right now, take a gamble on killing Dark King, and then release all the items that they have in their game for their FFR counterparts. Check with our trackers really quick. They would know better than anybody.
For some reason, I think I remember that they're not turned on, so they have to find all the items they need.
We had that set up for last month. So if that has carried over into this month, then that is correct. What releases chat is a command that runs an archipelago. It can be programmed to be automatically flagged after you kill a boss or hit a specific section that triggers the end of the game, or it can be run manually by pressing entering exclamation mark release. When that happens, every item that you're holding for your partner in your game will be sent over to their game all at once. Unfortunately, what can happen for Mystic Quest runners is it can be a minute or two of clearing item get boxes. Not nearly as detrimental for our FFR counterparts over there, as you'll see just like a flood of red text cover your screen. You'll still be able to operate the game though. Giga also opting for a little Mario Kart here. While Fliphill makes the checks in P Tower, finally finds a crest, the Gemini crest. Nothing huge. That'll grant them quick access between Aquaria and Fireberg, and a check inside Sealed Temple and in Alive Forest, but not much else on the table in terms of checks for that.
Actually, it doesn't give them full access between the two. They still need the multi-key. So they can check on what the guy has that has the mega grenades, but they can't get into Firebird.
Well, they would need the Mobius crest to get in through the back door of the Hermit's house. So they won't even be able to make that.
You're right. I'm wrong.
It's all right. Looks like release may be disabled for the seed. So if that's the case, gonna behoove our runners here to make sure that their partners are set to go before they go ahead and sprint to the end of the game here. So Giga also opting to blow up Spencer's place. About 3 checks that they can make here. Not all of them guaranteed, since NPCs are set to include... Sorry, 4 checks. I forgot about the brown box that gets washed up here at the top. Giga finding a ruby for Sonny, though, so they can go ahead and check Golem. See what's behind that location. While Sonny goes ahead and rips the Lich a new one. And both of our FF runners now have access to ribbons sent over from their MQ counterparts. Have not seen the plus or minus on the ribbons yet to see if they're any good.
I think it was a +1. I think they had ribbon like almost the entire game that they found, because there are 3 ribbons in the original Final Fantasy.
Doesn't look like Golem was hiding anything good behind them. There was a junk sword behind one of the AFP checks sent over to Giga, but otherwise nothing really game changing for either one of our runners. Giga's still a little behind in shard count last I checked. Yeah, 1 shard away, but that can easily change, especially with the check density here at P Tower. And it looks like Flip Heel is taking this opportunity to do a bit of grinding at level 20 right now, but P Tower also a very consistent place with some decent encounters to farm for XP. The only downside to farming P Tower is formations that include beholders. So these little green tentacle guys right here unfortunately have the attribute of reflecting magic attacks on the caster. You need to respect the reflect. So the only reason I would maybe farm max ship over P Tower would be the lack of beholders in any of the formations on max ship. Otherwise, still a very good location to farm XP though. And if you remember that beholders are weak to explosives, who knew? Explosions are my weakness. You can make some quick short work of those enemies.
Oh, don't ask me why, but I actually did some testing. The fastest way to level up to 41 in this game is to grind the first floor of Pursuer's Tower, leave and enter.
Makes sense. The bird formations on the first floor would be pretty XP heavy. The only downside is I think beholders can shuffle into some of those formations, if I'm not mistaken.
You avoid the one going up the steps. You just do the ones in the main hallway. They don't have beholders.
Ah, that's what it was. And
yeah,
since
there's a beholder fight.
And since the birds are weak to arrow, that would be a pretty easy farm indeed, especially if you have Kaylee in the party who comes equipped with arrow. Looks like Giga just got a care package of their last Sky Shard needed sent over. So at this point, I think we're just looking for go mode for our FFR counterparts. Looks like Ike here has now gotten access to Sunken Cave. So, or Sea Shrine. So if there was anything they needed still, Sea Shrine may be the place to be. Looks like Chime hasn't been found by Ike here. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think it has. I think that came from Mystic Quest.
It did, if I remember correctly. Okay, so Ike here does have Chime. Thank you, trackers, for keeping me honest. So both Sonny and Ike are now clearing out Sky Temple. And I'm seeing from chat that it looks like Ike here is, for all intents and purposes, in go mode. Wondering if they're looking for some items or for some armor or for any equipment to put them in a more comfortable place before they run to the end here. It looks like they're missing 2 shards. Gotcha.
What level is needed for the original Final Fantasy, ideally, to go against Chaos?
That is a great question for chat, because unfortunately I am not familiar. I can tell you, however, that there will be no Final Fantasy randomizer shards found in Mystic Quest. That option has been turned off in these flag settings. So our FF runners are going to need to find their own shards for go mode. Looks like Sonny still has quite a few to find before they are able to sprint to the end here. Looks like Ike here is dipping, probably going to go to a more dense location before checking for those fragments so they can go ahead and sprint to the end of the game. And I'm seeing on the tracker here that Flipeel finding more sky fragments, probably invoking a little bit of envy on Ike here, missing shards themselves. And I'm getting info from chat here that for Chaos, you want roughly 22 to 24 in some set of equipment. And fast TMPR spell.
And temper.
Make fights easier.
So, talking about endgame, looks like Giga is heading towards Dark King.
Yeah, if they've gotten the all clear from Sonny, if Sonny is comfortable with the items that they have, and the only thing they need to find at this point is shards, it would make sense for them to tell Giga to go ahead and sprint to the end here. Level 19 is not a bad position to be in going into Dark King. The only thing that Giga's missing out on would be exit at this point, and since it's a rush straight to Dark King, no boss fights required, that's not necessarily needed. You really only need White and Flare for this fight and some good defense, and Giga's loaded up on all of the in-game armor items. So at this point, it's just a matter of luck, since Dark King, I believe, is a vanilla moveset. So whether we get a 100% or 125% Dark King could make all the difference here. Now, chat, as a reminder, this is a co-op race, so even if Giga finishes before Flipeel, it does not matter until both partners are across the finish line. So if Flipeel and Ike finish before Sonny finishes, let's say Giga goes ahead and wraps up this Dark King, if both Flipio and Ikir finish before Fasani, that will give them the win. Last partner across the finish line determines your positioning in this race. Ikir just got their last shard, so they are good to sprint to the end at any point here. Looks like Sani's still looking around for items, though. So if Sani is the last one to cross the finish line, that would put Giga and Sani behind the other two. Flipio making their way out of tower, farming encounters along the way here. The levels could make all the difference here. Giga a little low on HP for both Phoebe and Ben makes this a little sketch, especially with Form 3 looming, not being as comfortable getting Phoebe through a lot of those heavier hitting attacks than Ben. But luck could make all the difference here for our runners tonight.
Hey, I just hope Dark King's cell phone is on.
We shall see here soon.
I know, I was like a tiny kid, like...
Giga opting to keep Phoebe and Otto here to be able to heal up a lot of this damage. Unfortunately, because of Phoebe's low level, will not be able to cure to max. It's really in the 30, like high 20s, low 30s that Phoebe gets in that 90 to 80 to 90 magic power range, where her cures just start topping everybody off regardless of how much damage they've taken. So she's gonna be a little short here, but still very powerful. Single target heals are going to pop her up to full health, no problem. Looks like Sani's fighting Warmech. I just glanced down and all of a sudden I see Warmech at the bottom here. I don't know if that's intentional because they are not resetting, so
it's
might be
intentional.
looking.
He's blocking on the helmet. I mean, not the helmet.
Tiamat?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So 4 intentional, and I believe of all the monthlies, this is the first Warmech.
Yeah, no, I believe this is the first War Mecha we've seen. In chat, you're gonna have to tell me, is Final Fantasy Randomizer's War Mecha basically the Mystic Quest equivalent of talking to Norma and sending her home? Let me know in the chat. I know that War Mecha is the super boss, but it's a bit of a meme category for us, the Mystic Quest, that you have to talk to Norma and waste about 10 seconds of your life watching her walk out of Pazuzu's tower. Giga taking his first down here at Dark King. Again, it's going to be very RNG heavy on the latter half of this fight, on whether webs are nice to you. Dark King is never nice to anybody ever. So coming in at a low level here might not be the gamble that pays off for Giga, but if luck's on their side, he could still very well take it from Flipheel here.
Did anyone catch how much damage Dark King is doing to Phoebe?
Dark King looks like he's doing about vanilla damage to Phoebe. So while that sounds like that's not so bad, Phoebe is missing about, I want to say 400 HP than what she would normally have. So not as tanky as OG Phoebe would be. Meanwhile, Flipio coming in here at level 24, it's going to have a 5 level advantage over Giga, not only making Ben safer, but putting Phoebe closer to what her vanilla stats are. Not as powerful, but pretty close. So we're going to see a bit of a difference here in terms of how quickly they get through Dark King. That being said, Dark King is still the great equalizer. He is the jerk to end all jerks. And he can just say, wombo combo, now you die, bibbity bobbity, bam, you're on the floor. And both of our Mystic Quest runners can have a bad time here. Looks like Ikir is going into Sea Shrine. At this point, chat, I do not know what our Final Fantasy runners are missing for Go mode.
I think Ikir is heading towards the end of the game now. And so is Sunnyrath?
looks like both Sonny and Ikir might be beelining it to do some shopping right before Topher. Meanwhile, Flipheel and Giga still neck and neck, both in phase 2. I think Giga just has a slight lead over Flipheel in terms of phase progression here, being a little deeper into phase 2 than Flipheel is. That being said, though, Flipheel has the advantage of having a more comfortable HP threshold on top of having more charges for Flare. So every turn not wasted spending seeds to refill your charges for Flare is another turn spent doing damage. Giga now transitioning into phase 3 much more comfortably than last time, but webs are still a threat here, so going to need to be strategic in their offensive moves here. Silver web is definitely not what you want to see on Phoebe ever. A confused Phoebe can KO the party instantaneously, and it looks like we unfortunately rolled Fast King. So not only is this very dangerous, but it could be detrimental to the party. Thankfully, Mega Flare putting down confused Phoebe before she can kill the party, instantly predicting that life need and rolling gold webs on Giga. That's what we want to see here. We do not want to see any gold webs on Phoebe. We instead want to see them on our main character since we have the Aegis Shield available, but I don't know if Flipheel got their Aegis Shield. And consult the trackers really quick. Gold webs could be a problem for Flipheel. Yeah, and Phoebe barely outliving those beam attacks, those laser attacks from Dark King. That was my main concern with Giga coming in at such a low level. And there is the gold web. If there's another wipe here, I might suggest, I know they can't hear me, but I might suggest switching over to Madam President strats, basically putting Ben on defense while Phoebe does all the damage. Looks like Giga got lucky with a turn rotation here, though, and is going to be able to top up since Phoebe is getting put below the 50% threshold to trigger double cure. Meanwhile, Sonny on to Kraken, while Ikir making their way up through Topher, going to go ahead and fight the Lich. Still anybody's race here at Dark King. So getting an update from our trackers here, Sonny is still missing 1 or 2 shards for go mode, putting Ikir in a very comfortable lead. Meanwhile, Giga has pushed on to phase 4, but has gotten a very, very bad situation here. I believe this is a wipe. Yeah, unfortunately, getting KO'd with a confused Phoebe, not breaking out of that. Even if she did break out, she'd lose the turn. So as a reset on Giga's side, putting Flipheel in the lead. Still anybody's game, though. A bad combo for Flipheel here could be just as detrimental as it was on Giga's side. Ikir making his way through. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Welcome for Flipheel. They have 2 additional flares, so they spend less time casting seeds on themselves.
Yep. So in terms of raw firepower, Flipheel does have the advantage. And again, that life lead also makes it a little more comfortable. Spider Kids will not KO Flipheel in the first attack, nor will it KO Phoebe, putting them both at a decent life advantage. That being said, webs don't care about life. They will just end you. Looks like Flipheel is adopting double cure strats moving forward, so he's going to make himself the auto turret for Flare while setting Phoebe manually to double cure the party. Is a decent strat. Again, very susceptible to gold web here. Let's see how this lands. Getting very lucky with the Ben land and not the Phoebe land on that. Probably just a couple flares away from end here for Flipheel. Meanwhile, Giga making his way on to phase 2. Mega White, not what you want to see, but not the end of the world either. And that is time for Flipheel with a final time of 1:14:52-ish. So at this point, Ikir just needs to KO Chaos before their team takes the wind here. Meanwhile, it looks like Sonny is now in Topher as well, if I'm not mistaken. Here taking on Kraken. Looks like they might have gotten KO'd while it was focused on Dark King. Chat, keep me honest here. No, it was Sonny that was fighting Kraken either, so no KOs yet.
You know, I just realized it's the full Sign of Chaos.
Yeah, from what it looks like we have a full Topher here. Sonny and Ike here not far apart from each other, though, from what I can tell. Ike here has a lead, but Sonny is making their way up pretty quickly. And it looks like Chaos or Tiamat 2 are going to be the great deciders for our FFR runners, much like Dark King has been for our Mystic Quest runners here. Giga, unfortunately, getting bad combinations here, combined with their lower stats, not making this Dark King encounter an easy one at all.
Yeah, it looks like Sonny has a lot more levels than the IQ from what I've seen from the menus. I think IQ is only like around 25 at most, but Sonny is at around 29.
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the equipment that they have set to each other or set to their party, so that could make or break what's going on here. But from what I can tell from their play, Sonny and Ike are pretty closely matched in terms of checks and knowledge. So it's just a matter of execution and luck at this point. Could be anybody's game on the FFR side of the house. And getting informed from chat that Ike is the one with the level advantage from what chat is seeing.
Well, I saw he just leveled up to level 27, 28. So I think it evenly matched then. Roughly.
While Giga's still contending with webs, rolling confused Phoebe again. Hopefully he gets a turn in to life her and gets something nice that Ben can live through. Mega White is one of those attacks that, while intimidating and takes out a huge chunk of HP, is something you want to see in that combination since Ben is at full HP. Giga going for Madam President strats here, though, making a smart move, taking that defense. I have no doubt in my mind that that gold web would have landed on Phoebe had he not opted to defend here. Also opting for seed refills while keeping on auto, getting some good use out of the auto system here, having Phoebe heal right away. Gold web on Ben, so it looks like we're gonna have a little bit more triage followed by flare. What we like to see, somehow outspeeding Phoebe on that turn. A little bit of wonky turn order here on Mystic Quest side of the house. Meanwhile, Sonny goes ahead and is almost through Kraken, while Ike is getting geared up, I believe, to fight Chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Not having a hard time at all with Tia 2. So on to the final fight for Ike here. If they take a wipe here, this could be what Sonny needs. But given Ike's track record and their performance, I don't see that happening. But let's see how the cards roll tonight. Giga on the phase 4.
And it looks like Ike is buffing up his Knight with tempers and stuff. So this Knight is going to be doing a lot of damage. I'm gonna start probably within like the 500 to 600s. Oh no, that's a 168. So they don't have. That's it. They don't have Excalibur or anything. So it's all the way on getting tempers and that Knight, and casting nuke with that red mage.
Yeah, meanwhile, Giga is at the end here. It looks like they just rolled time. So now it is just down to Ike and Sonny. If Ike takes a wipe here, this could give Sonny a chance at victory for their team. If not, Ike and Fliphill will take it tonight.
And just to remind you folks, taking a wipe here at Chaos, you have to walk the whole Chaos line again.
Yep, Sonny on Tia 2. Meanwhile, Ike here probably about halfway through this Chaos fight, if not further along. Have not been able to keep track all the way through. Looks like they are comfortably ripping through Chaos here. No party down, nothing major hitting the party yet. In full force tonight.
That's time.
And that is time for Ike here and Flip Heel with a final time of 120. let's say 18. Giving
18,
Flip Heel
yeah.
and Ike here the victory for tonight. Let's see your GGs in chat. Sonny Wrath not far behind, and honestly, a great showing for Team Giga and Sonny Wrath. Really, really close race tonight, chat. Like, I don't imagine Sonny Wrath's probably going to be in Topher for maybe another minute or two. And with Giga already rolling refights at this point and just making some curiosity checks, they have killed their Dark King. So GG's to all of our amazing runners tonight. See if I can't get our winning team up here for a interview. 1 second.
Looks like Sonny's now approaching Chaos. Let's see how the fight goes for he.
And it looks like we have Flip Heel and Ike here in the waiting room. So let me just go ahead and drag them in here. And we are joined by our winners tonight. GG's, gentlemen.
GG.
GG.
GG's.
Yeah, Sonny and Giga not too far behind. Giga actually made it to Dark King before you, Flip Heel, but unfortunately went in at a lower level. So got KO'd twice going in at level 19, and RNG just was not in his favor, but did not finish too far behind you. So good showing all around. Sonny is on Chaos right now, so I don't imagine those two will be too much longer before they join you here in the commentator's booth. But again, GG's, what do you guys think of the seed settings tonight?
Interesting. Having to get all my shards and trap chests was actually not as long as I expected it to be. I mean, there's a buttload of them in air. And that one room with 4.
It was funny to see that Wild Ham had set the seeds so that you could find Skycoin shards in FFR, but you couldn't find FFR shards in Mystic Quest. So completely on your own in terms of go mode for FFR, it felt like for most of the night. How did it feel for your other checks, Ikir specifically?
Well, managing to find the loot early, I think, just loose, or maybe Flip Heel found it, I don't remember which, but hinting the key early, because I knew that locked 2 of Mystic Quest players' good items, and that just led to the chain of, okay, I got one of them, I'm going to pass by Elflin, I'm going to get the canoe for free, okay. That just opened up everything, and then from there, it's just, oh, there's Floater, okay, we're good to go. Just need the other 3 items. I hinted at my progression items to get into both Sea Shrine and Air Temple, because that's where a lot of chests are, and they just have to be all in my seas. So I told Flip Heel, it's like, I could get all mine. So if you're go, just like level and go.
Yeah, for sure. And Flip, before we get into the Plando routing, when Giga and Sonny looked like they join us up here, how did you feel about the seed in general? It looked like it was pretty tame and a little less chaotic than some of our previous settings we've had for these showcases. But really, I feel like the partner +5 settings might have thrown a little bit of a wrench in things. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, so we did one practice to kind of see how this mode would go, because I'm definitely not used to this level character +5 setting. So basically, with the fact that your 3 items that give you all the good resistances for Dark King could be like terrible to get, and like you can't rely on your main character or your secondary character to carry you through the final boss. I was like, let me just get as many levels and health as I can to not have to deal with any of those annoying like 1-hit KO potentials on the final boss, because I hate resetting and like defending. So and you also, since you hit go mode pretty fast and like the FF player has to find all the items on their own, it's just like you kind of have the extra time, so it kind of worked out.
Fair enough. And we are joined by Giga and Sonny. GG's very, very close race tonight. How do y'all feel? I already asked Ike and Flipio, how do you two feel about the seed settings that we had tonight?
Sonny, after you.
I was going to say, on the FFR side, they were really, really good. So I definitely enjoyed them. It was a nice throwback to play some easier flags because normally with AP, I'm running like obscene scaling. We're talking 300 to 500% scaling on both regular enemies and bosses. So actually toning the scaling back was really, really nice for the first time in a while.
Yeah, doing these for a showcase, we tend to make them a little more on the approachable side of that side of things. We might get into some masochist showcases later on in the year, but for now, anybody joining us, we don't want to spook any new players off. We definitely want to make this look inviting. Giga, how do you feel about the Mystic Quest settings, especially the partner +5? I know you hopped in here during Flip Heel's feelings on that, but how do you feel about routing around that settings in particular?
So, I don't normally play with Den +5 for my partner settings. I normally play with quests, and I typically am usually a casual runner. So, I think it was mostly nerves from everything here around the situation here that is going to color my opinion. But honestly, it was a good time. The enemies were reasonable. The bosses were, well, you saw me defeat Flamerous.
Yeah.
I was also expecting there to be some boss rematches before the Dark King, but they didn't show up. I was expecting to be level 20 at least.
So that's what happened. Okay. Yeah, no, for our setting tonight, chat, if you missed it, we had a straight shot to Dark King, no refights available. And you know, I know that you typically do not participate in races. You're more of a casual player, like you said. But honestly, with the showing you put on tonight, I feel like you did a great job. There was about a 5-level difference between yourself and Flip Heel. Flip Heel, you went in at level 24. Giga, you went in at 19. And honestly, I feel like y'all's differences in your time purely boiled down to luck. You got some bad combinations with webs. Flip Heel managed to dodge a couple of those bad combos there at the end, but I feel like both of you were still just like a web combo away from death, and Flip Heel managed to take it away even after, even though they got to Dark King after you did. You actually made it to Dark King first, but again, 5-level difference probably made that what it was. So honestly, anybody's game going into Dark King. A great show from both of you. We'll go to the winners first. How did y'all feel about the Plando? I know, when did we release those seed settings? Like yesterday? Day before? When y'all found out it was Plando, did anything change in the way that y'all were communicating and routing this tonight?
A little bit. I hinted at the key early because I can get 2 of the items for the Mystic Quest player just with the key alone, and that really informed the route there. I think I misplaced the one in Sea Shrine, but after that, I got Canoe. I can get your 3rd item from Ordeals, and I know Flipio wanted his armor because of all the nasty stat specs that you can get from the boss. So my side collecting them, I didn't have a problem collecting them because they're locked behind like 1 or 2 items. So I knew he needed them, so I went and got them.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and for me, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, going into it, you know, since there were only, I think, 4 for us, and you know, 1 was behind Pazuzu and 1 was behind Dullahan, so I was like, those 2, unless you really need them, I'm probably not gonna do. But you know, I can probably, you know, the Medusa's usually not too bad unless you hit it really early, and then you know, usually want to go through Pazuzu's tower for all the items anyway. So
I think you got me 2 of them. One was the Roost Stick and one was the Excalibur, which rolled at -1, unfortunately, so it wasn't as good, but I still liked both of those. The other ones I didn't really care about because Ribbon, there's like 2 other ones in the seed. I think I got both of them. Power Bong didn't end up being necessary.
Yeah, honestly, from what I saw, being able to avoid Jerkbird and Dullahan really paid off for our Mystic Quest runners in terms of the Plando settings. Giga, Sonny, I guess we'll start with you, Sonny. How'd you feel about the Plando?
So First off, you guys are welcome on the Plando because I was generating a bunch of these seeds and finding out that the Plando wasn't working because originally with the FFR seed, that last Plandoed box was supposed to be the Temple of Fiends Revisited Tia's floor chest, which normally contains the Mosmute.
Mhm.
But because that chest does not get put into AP, the Plando in and of itself really wasn't working.
Okay.
Ah.
Wonder why that changed.
So, yeah, that was Giga and I being like, this isn't working.
The day before, too.
And we
Yeah.
learned yesterday too that it's like nothing is where it should be. What did we do wrong?
No,
I
it,
mean-
it was nothing that we were doing wrong.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
guys.
no, you're good. And I was gonna say shout outs to our developers for FFR and FFMQ to be able to workshop something presentable for chat here tonight to put on a good show. You know, mad props to Wild Ham, the evil genius that he is.
Big shout out
Thank
to
you,
him.
Wildham.
Yes, huge shout outs to you, Wildham. But
You're awesome.
as
Shout
for your
out.
question, yeah, the incentives with the items that FFR had for Mystic Quest being all of your major resistances, those are go-tos as quick as you possibly can. I didn't even hint the key. Giga found it, sent it to me, and I went, okay, this is what I'm doing because I now have access to stuff to do because I was out of checks very quickly. And I ended up grinding on Peninsula Power for a little bit because of having no checks. After I got the key, everything fell into place. Got canoe, got floater, went into the air, hit Marsh Incentive, hit Ordeals, hit Locked Canaria. And I mean, the only major item that was missing was the Apollo's helm, which Giga found later on in the seed. So the incentives definitely played a huge route with, or a huge part in my routing with how we planned out everything.
Yeah, and I saw you hitting Peninsula Power pretty a little early on, and I'm not familiar with FFR myself, unfortunately. But I was asking Chad, is he BK'd or is this strategic? And I never really quite got an answer.
I was absolutely.
Will be.
I
I
was in BK and going for a strategic grind while being in BK.
Fair enough. I think you made a very excellent use of your time, though. Again, only coming in minutes behind Ike here. Giga, how did your Plando routing go? Was it really just kind of communication? Hey, these two checks kind of suck. Can we fade them? Like Fakil said?
I did not consider the Plando in any capacity.
So it just kind of worked out that you got to fade Dullahan and Pazuzu.
Yeah.
I mean, you at least got me the Ruse Stick, and that was all that mattered. Also, Excal -1, what's that? I had Vorpal and Katana.
I had a Vorpal too. I bring you Thieves, so my Katana's were useless.
Oh, boy.
I will have to admit, I just felt so bad when I saw that Vorpal sword get equipped. I just felt that in my bones.
I equipped the Vorpal because it's an extremely good critical hit weapon. It may not be the best sword when it rolls down, but neutral and when it rolls up, it really gets the job done. The Katana rolling up, though, definitely took priority.
Yeah, maybe wish
For
I had a
sure.
Thief.
So,
yeah, we'll fight a Rainbow.
before I get on the final thoughts, I did want to let chat know that it's we've been talking about it for the last 2 or 3, 4 broadcasts of doing a Freaky Friday swap, basically having someone who's not familiar with FFR partner up with someone who's not familiar with MQ and doing a showcase. And it might be in the cards for us to do that next month. That being said, for all of our seasoned runners in here showing off the AP, what settings would you expect us to run for our very unfamiliar, very new runners to showcase? And we'll start with the FF side of the house. Ike here, any speculation?
Probably something a bit simpler. I mean, Sharton's okay. You have to get all the chests anyways. But I am not good at crafting flag sets for new people, so I'm gonna shoot that over to Sonny.
I appreciate it, Ike here. Shard Hunt really isn't all that bad. So I could see a Shard Hunt with slightly lower scaling, definitely not plandoed, but potentially having incentive locations with specific items incentivized.
I would say
Just
not
to-
having them like be in your own seed like it was for this one. Just if you die, you still save them.
Yes, I agree with you on that one 100%. Granted, if we decide to not do incentivized items, something you may have noticed if you're not familiar with how FFR works in AP is there were items that I picked up and then just immediately reset out of, because when you pick up an AP item, it saves it on the server so you can reset out and then just jump back in.
Great thing
Very
to
cool
use.
piece of
I was
tech
doing it too.
there. Yeah, definitely something the partners are going to need to communicate to each other with all the tips and tricks. I'm not familiar with FFR. I might be one of the Freaky Friday runners. I was thinking maybe something akin to Duck Derby. Shout outs to the new player Duck Derby. How would those settings kind of play out for new players?
Ooh, the Duck Derby settings. I'm pretty sure Ikir knows, as well as Windfox if he's here. I've done a lot of commentary on the Duck Derby this year. Those flags would be perfect for the Freaky Friday settings that very well may be speculated on. I would say probably one of the first 2 weeks instead of the last 2 weeks, because the last 2 weeks get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, no entrance floor shuffle.
Yeah, no entrance floor shuffle at all. But the first 2 weeks definitely would be a good go, and definitely not Winter Tournament 24 flags, because yeah, no, those are you're ready to move up in your FFR play level.
Fair enough. Mystic Quest side of the house. We'll throw it over to you first, Flipiel. What would you think? What would you speculate settings are going to be for the Mystic Quest side of the house in terms of beginner settings for Freaky Friday?
I was thinking, so maybe very tame settings like enemy health, even level them up quick. Maybe not even brown boxes include, but make it super original. Make it so there's no Dark King shortcut, and you have to not only get to the, well, maybe not both of them, but either the no Dark King shortcut, so you need all the items logically, or have the vanilla, because I don't think we've ran one of them, the vanilla where you have to actually refight the 4 bosses in their original areas. Let them see the pain that we used to go through before. They got
Vanilla
rid of those
Doom
settings.
castle routing, yes.
Not anything but
Jerkbird Prime.
No kidding.
Giga, what would you speculate would be the settings? I know we have the beginner preset. Do you think it'd be something more akin to that, or something a little more finely tuned to be interesting but also accessible?
I'm not familiar with the beginner preset. I would have to look at it real quick. But I can say that my settings as a more casual runner tend toward the high experience routing, high enemy density to go with the experience routing. And not necessarily vanilla Doom Castle, but yes to the boss rush.
Fair.
I would leave the shortcut on. I would not require the players to get all the vanilla go mode items, but I would do Sky Frag Hunt in that case.
Yeah,
24 is fine. 24 is fine.
Shard Hunt can be pretty accessible for new players, especially with shortcut turned on. I like both of those recommendations, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I'm kind of a masochist when it comes to Mystic Quest Rando, so a lot of stuff sounds easy to me, unfortunately. But we'll be interested to see. I really wish we could hear both of the teams when it comes to Freaky Friday and the amount of guiding each other through each other's games. But I think when we do Freaky Friday, Chanigan and Caleb have both opted to be on commentary, so we'll have 2 folks on the mic that are very familiar with both games, guiding chat through the chaos that we'll see on screen. So look forward to that chat next month. So the last Wednesday of every month, we do these showcases. For June, it will be the 26th of June. Mark your calendar. We will be here on FFR. If all things go well, we'll make announcements in the relevant Discords so everybody can tune in for these. So enough talking about Freaky Friday. Let's go ahead and move on to final thoughts.
Can I sneak in some Freaky Friday thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright. For the Mythic Quest side, I think the world should be shuffled.
No.
Oh, like the Overworld shuffle?
No, I highly disagree with that.
Hey. I was thinking it'll involve more communication with the partner then. That actually describe it where they're at.
It would. I agree. It would absolutely necessitate communication with your partner. However, I feel like it would be a bit mean.
A little bit, but I think we'll try to find a balance between entertainment and chaos when it comes to the learning curves for those.
And for the FFR side, oops, all war mechs.
No, no, no. Big
X10?
red flag of no.
That sounds awful.
But I like it.
Hey, I'll be playing the FFR. I'll be putting myself in your shoes, so don't worry. I'll weep and cry along with all of you.
I mean, here's the thing, X10. I'm used to fighting low-level war mechs personally. I've taken down a war mech at level 2. It's scary.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely frightening. And then we're getting some feedback from the chat too. The mastermind behind the seeds himself, Wildham, has said he's 100% plan doing progression in Light Temple, which for anybody who doesn't know is kind of our new player trap for Mystic Quest. You need to take the Mobius Crest warp into Light Temple, and you need to go through a secret tunnel that no one remembers from vanilla because it only hit a brown box through the waterway to get to a box. So that is truly devious. Very mean, Wildham. But I approve. That will be definitely interesting to see on camera.
I approve too.
I could see that being a thing.
Didn't someone just get hit by that one?
Yeah, no, if you go in the Mystic Quest Discord, we have seed discussions for people who get stuck, seed report. And we've got a few players this week that hit some nasty trolls from the randomizer that might trip up some newer players. Always love to see it. Always willing to help out, but you feel bad for them every time you see it.
Game's got jokes.
It does. Both of these randomizers can be very trolly.
Yeah, I won't admit to what I rolled for the last Duckling Derby race. You can't make me.
It's on VOD. We'll roll back that beautiful bean footage. But speaking of, it looks like we're getting a little late here in the night, so let's go ahead and throw it over to final thoughts, and we'll throw it over to the winners team. Ike here, Flip Heel. Any final thoughts for our chat here tonight?
I'll say shout out to Habenax and Wildham X10 and Nutmeg for putting this on. It's been a lot of fun. And shout out to that single Kyosuku who zapped my entire party like 2 paces away from getting into Bahamut at the beginning of the seed. I'm sure everyone got a big laugh from that.
Oh no!
Yep, first thing I did, I would go there because it's a bunch of items I just reset out. And yeah, zap.
Oh no!
Watch it back, it's hilarious. Okay, Flip Heel.
I'll just echo what he said. Thanks everybody, and I guess just one thing about the seed was pretty nice that we got I think like basically every single strong weapon to start, so there was no shortage of firepower.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely generous in terms of the equipment for offensive capabilities, all things considered. Giga, Sonny, any final thoughts for the chat here tonight?
Giga, you take first.
Early Dragonclaw was a blessing.
Yeah, you always love to see early Claw, especially when it's Dragon Claw. With Petrification being on the table very early on, it makes things a little nicer.
Also, early Meteor. That was also amazing. I didn't realize that I had it very early, but man, did it help. That's all for me.
For sure.
I do have to note, you're all lucky you didn't go into the tree.
Oh yeah, no giant tree tonight.
Aren't
Very,
we always?
very nice.
Always a good day when you can fade tree.
what's the giant tree? Nobody.
It's
You'll
not a
find out.
place you want to be.
Exactly.
It's very slow.
I hear
Don't
bad things
worry,
about
we'll
Flippy all the
plan
time.
to
Definitely
we'll
planned
find
it.
out.
There you go. Plando behind the Geedra chest. Exactly.
That
I
is
mean,
mean.
Ghidra Chest was planned out for this one.
Oh yeah,
But-
no. Now, yeah, y'all are lucky that rolled junk. That
I
is
mean-
a terrible check.
It could have held the Mazda, but it's neither here nor there.
I'm sorry, Sonny. If I was your partner, I would have told you there's no way in hell you're getting that great sword if I have to go through giant tree. It's just not happening. I'm sorry.
And Hebbinks, I would have told you that's fine because I have a katana and I have a Vorpal. I'm good.
See, it worked out. It worked out. Any final thoughts, Sonny?
I mean, big thank you to everybody that put this together. Hebbinks, X10, thank you both for doing commentary. Ham, my friend, you're always a wizard, and I can't give you enough appreciation for it. Nutmeg, I believe you were doing the tracking, so massive thank you to that. Ike here, Flip Heel, GG's to both of you. An amazing race for all four of us. And I definitely look forward to watching this back.
Same.
And yeah, Hebbinks, thanks for getting me into this again because it was yours and RPG Chicks Limit Break race that actually made me go, oh, wait, this is a thing. I should probably start messing around with it again.
Oh, thank you very much. I also shout outs to my most recent converts from my voyage last week to RPG Limit Breaks. If you're watching, keep it up. This is an amazing randomizer. Both of these randomizers are truly amazing with great communities behind them. FFR has years on us, but the Mystic Quest Rando is ever growing, and I feel like FFR is keeping pace as well. With how much they have going on in the new implementations of settings that they're working on, even to this day.
Oh, yeah. And I know Ham's been working on a lot behind the scenes. And I mean, may I give a TLDR on what you said there, though?
Yeah, for sure.
Come join both communities, guys.
Yeah,
Got fun events.
Yeah, definitely. It always feels like we have something going on. It's a pleasure to be involved with both these communities. And you look at FFR's calendar and they have so much lined up, just so much going on. And MQ is getting our way into events more and more and kind of crossing over with FFR for a lot of those. As a matter of fact, I think we have showings from FFR and MQ in the summer marathon coming up on FFR. So be there, be square. It's going to be an amazing showcase there as well. X10, any final thoughts for the chat before we go ahead and call it a night?
I just want to say thank you to you for being an amazing host and killing me through tonight. To all the racers for doing a phenomenal job, clearing both games in an hour and 20. It's no easy task. And for Wildhound for making all this happen, from creating the randomizer itself, and for Nutmeg for doing the tracking and keeping my thoughts straight.
Yeah, for sure. Shout outs to everybody on the back end, on the production side, to our amazing runners tonight. Chat again, less than 4 minute difference between both teams finishing out tonight. Could not have asked for a better showing of a race tonight. But that is going to go ahead and do it for us tonight. I know some of our runners have lives tomorrow and we're encroaching on their sleep time, so I will go ahead and let them free. Again, we are here at the last Wednesday of every month, so tune in June 26th for our next showcase, which could very well be a Freaky Friday seed. So stay tuned and we will see you all next time. Have a great night.